Today I'm going to show you how to change the lid parts on a FreeSip Sway. So we're going to change out the cap, the button, and the handle. Stay tuned. The best tool I was able to find to remove the cap for the Owala FreeSip Sway is an Eyeglasses screwdriver. So take the flathead part of the Eyeglasses screwdriver and you will see a little hole right here in between the spring and the cap. Now, when you insert the screwdriver into this hole, there will be a little section where you can wedge it behind the cap, and then it can pop right out with a little bit of force. So that's going to be the least damaging way to remove that cap. Now, to put the cap back on, it has these little spring parts that need to be flush with the side of the cap. So once you've got one side in, go ahead and put it in the other side and then wedge it back into that hole that you took it out of. It's going to pop into that section again with just a little bit of force, and it's not going to be very damaging. Now, you don't have to make sure that the spring parts are flush right away, because you can take those spring parts and bring them back out, no matter kind of where they landed. I try to get it in the front, but even if they end up behind the cap, it's not going to be a huge deal. If you have a pair of angled needle nose pliers, you can pull that spring part back out and make sure it is flush with the side of the lid right there. So once they're both flush with the side of the lid, it's going to perform just like normal. The easiest thing to switch out on the FreeSip Sway lid is actually this button. So it doesn't have little tabs like the original FreeSip button did. Now it has a little channel that is in the middle of the FreeSip button. So you have to lift it up and slide it up in order to remove it instead of just popping it straight out like you did on the FreeSip original lid. So you just line that channel back up with its spot and slide it back down, and you are good to go. So I'm going to actually show you this again on a non-damaged lid. Here, it's a little harder to get it up because I haven't done this button yet before. So we're going to wedge that right in there and then push up to make it pop right off on the top. So then you put the spring back in its little channel and then take the button and put it back on top of that spring. And it doesn't have that little crosshair thing that it used to on the original FreeSip. So you're going to just put it anywhere and then slide it back down in order to put it back on. And there you go, a functioning button. The most difficult thing to remove on the FreeSip Sway lid is this handle. Now, I damaged this handle a lot trying to get this button out here, and I don't see a way to really wedge this up without significant damage to the handle. But this is going to be the only way that you can remove the handle, is by wedging a flat tip screwdriver underneath the button here and continuing to wedge it. So if you're very, very careful and you wedge it a little at a time, and maybe if you have something underneath the screwdriver in order to make that flatter so it's not putting these divots into the handle, you might be able to wedge it up a little bit nicer. But the screw that is in here is not threaded, so it's not going to twist or anything like that. The only way to get it up is by force and in this direction. You can see once I get this off here, it has divots here But again, it's not threaded, so it's not going to be something that you can screw back on. It can only be pressed back on or pressed out. So it's not going to screw on like a regular screwdriver. So in order to get the handle back on, this is going to be an easy part, is just put that back, put the little screw back on, and then you're just going to need force in order to put it back on. So I was going to put a towel here to not damage the button very much and just hammer that back in very lightly and gently, of course, so that it can be put back. And then you put the other side back on and the handle is all set again. So there you have it. That's how you switch out all of the lid parts on the FreeSip Sway from Owala. I love how it turned out, and I'm going to continue to use this as a bottle. Please subscribe to this channel so you can get more Owala customization tips and tricks and just everything Owala.